welcome to the World Touring Championship 2015. We are here in Buriram, Thailand for rounds 21 and 22. It is scorching hot, but it's a very, very exciting circuit. It's super fast, got some fantastic corners, and of course it's an ultimate weekend, so lots to talk about with the championship.
Absolutely, yes. Buriram, it's about a 4-kilometre circuit. They're doing it in about 1 minute 35 or so. I was lucky enough to go out in the safety car yesterday and do a couple of laps. Curbs are very flat because they held the World Superbike Championship at the start of this year. So a lot of cars going over the curbs, going over the corrals. We've got some big tyre stacks on the apex of curbs to stop them from cutting too much. But that is going to be a talking point, how much you can gain from running off the circuit over the curb onto the grass. But we have a championship to wrap up.
Yeah, we do, and there was a little bit of a rumour going around that Pachito might not actually be racing this weekend. I don't know how he is, but I believe he has an ear infection.
Yeah, exactly. So yesterday he turned up to the football with some earplugs in, which was strange because there was no noise, and I said, what's the problem? He's got a ring in his ear that he's picked up from a flight, and for about 10 days now, he just hears noise constantly. Now, that is a problem in itself because obviously the ears and the balance are very important to driving a car, so it is a difficulty. He's a racing driver though, he's going to go out and do it regardless. I think there was a bit of a doubt as to whether he would drive on doctor's orders, but he will go out there and try and wrap up the championship. This weekend he can do it in race 1 if he takes it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I totally can't imagine Pachito not racing. And also we have the Yokohama Trophy, which at the moment Norby is sitting on top as well. But will Chilton get that back, I wonder? That's it. We can kick off with FP1 here at Buriram. Enjoy.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Alex. And just for future notice, don't stand under a loudspeaker when you try and do presentations. Good morning, good afternoon now. Martin Haven and alongside me, Matt Neal, ready for the start of the first of our 2 free practice sessions. Slightly truncated weekend here in Buriram. They had free testing this morning and now are getting ready to go out for the first of 2 free practice sessions. That's official time practice. And Matt, interesting circuit, lots of twisty sections and a couple of very long straights as well. The main straight is 1 kilometre long, part of a drag strip here, so plenty of opportunity for overtaking, you would hope.
Yeah, that's right, Martin. Nice wide circuit, wide runoff areas and you know, lots of space to use. A lot of the drivers have been saying they really like it because they can push the car to the limit, but then in the first test session, a lot of them have been ruining mistakes made to get that ultimate lap. So, as Ben mentioned, the track limits is an issue, you know, because there is escape roads and tarmac to use on the outside, and these guys, they're going to use every inch they can possibly get hold of to wring those last few tenths out so track limits is going to be an issue, or could be an issue. They've tried to slow it down a bit with a few tyre stacks, but it's almost stopping the flood of the tide, I think, because when they all get going and when they're really starting to want for those ultimate lap times in qualifying, it is going to be an issue for the officials to hang on to.
Well, they're just going to have to get the drivers used to not using all the runoff area there is. As Ben said, it has been designed to be a motorcycle circuit as well, so it's an FIA Grade 1. It's also an FIA Grade A circuit, which means potentially it could host MotoGP, and as a result the curbings are very flat and the runoff areas. There's a couple of elements where there are sort of 2 sector corners, double left-handers at turn 5 and 6 and double right-handers at turn 8 and 9, which you treat as one, but it's a little bit more difficult if you have to straighten up between the 2 of them than if you just do a huge great parabola ignoring track limits. So I'm sure those and the final corner, which is a more than 90-degree hairpin, will definitely be high on the list of places that they're watching, especially in qualifying, because if you do run off track for 1 lap, you will gain an awful lot of speed that otherwise you probably shouldn't have. So it's down to the drivers and especially the teams now to make sure that they are obeying the track limits, staying within the white lines, because if you practice breaking the limit, then you will qualify breaking the limit and you will end up losing your times.
Yeah, but you tell that to any driver, Martin, they're all going to They're all going to push it to the max.
The penultimate weekend of the World Touring Car Championship 2015. You've wrapped up the Manufacturers Championship. Congratulations for that. So, how do you work this weekend with your drivers fighting for a championship still?
It's quite easy due to the fact that it's a Citroën driver who will be champion. Then they have the completely green car to do what they want. But for sure, it's a Petit Joe who is in the best position.
And coming to a new track, a new venue, a new country for World Touring Cars, that was a bit of an extra challenge for you as a team?
Yes, it's always interesting to go to a new place, and for sure this track is quite interesting, quite new, and the design is really appreciated by the drivers, and it's something new to learn from them. And okay, we saw in free practice that there is still a lot of work, but okay, they enjoy it, and everybody enjoys it.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Sounds like that mic wasn't working either, I'm afraid. So 31 degrees of air temperature, track 42 degrees, sun has been high in the sky and humidity is climbing. There is a bit of a forecast for thunderstorms in the region, however hopefully that will pass because it should have been stormy by now if they were going to arrive. So we'll hope that everything remains dry and the drivers break from their shady pit boxes and head out onto this track. So as Ben said, just around 4.5 kilometres, 2.8 miles, so Grand Prix circuit length. And in free practice, the fastest laps were minute 38, minute 39. Van Muller heads the charge. Lap record was set here by the Kondo Racing Honda of Daiki Sasaki last year in Japanese Super GT, 1 minute 25.4, so we won't be approaching that. If we are, then Super GT need to pull their socks up a little bit.
I mean, one of the good things, Martin, is you see the section we're just going down through now into turn 3. The last corner and the first 3-4 corners, they're going to present us with fantastic overtaking opportunities. The middle section is very MotoGP bike-esque, which we're saying the circuit's been designed for, so it's going to be, I reckon in these things it's going to be a bit of a case of follow the leader and who's got the best front end on the car to maximise it. But you know, so we could have half a track with some serious action, some good slipstreaming down the start finish and the second straight, so it'd be interesting to see how it unfolds.
Van Muller and Sebastian Loeb, of course, battling for second in the drivers' standings. Effectively, unless Pachito Lopez decides he's had enough and isn't going to race this weekend or in the final encounters in Qatar, then he will be our champion. He's not yet completely clear, so he does need still to score points. As you heard from Ben with Yves Maton, Citroën already the manufacturers' champions. Fastest in free training this morning, by the way, in the test session, Norby in his Honda, ahead of Nico Lapierre in the Lada, with Sebastian Loeb third for Citroën and Hugo Vallant fourth for Chevrolet. So all four manufacturers represented at the top. New boy in the championship in a Chevy Cruze run by the Campos Racing team is local driver Tin Sritre, and the Thai 26-year-old former Carter has been racing in the local touring car championship. He's won it the last 2 years and looks on target to win it this year as well. Well, the topography of the circuit, it's fairly flat. It's a little bit like Silverstone, I suppose. The sort of inclines and drops aren't exactly severe, but it does go up and down a little bit. And as you said, Matt, this first sector, very quick indeed. Kilometre long straight plus a 3/4 of a kilometre long return after the hairpin.
Yeah, you can just see on the apexes here, you can get a glimpse of the orange tyre stacks. Nice, but the circuit in general is incredibly well presented. Super. I mean, it's very new, we know that, but the attention to detail these the Thai Buram guys have been going to is outstanding, to be fair.
Yeah, it's a good-looking facility. And again, as you see at the side of the track, curbs nice and low.
And they're all being incredibly well behaved. Now, there's interesting, a new FIA internal net meant to stop the head going forward for the 2 o'clock hit.
Yeah,
which is sort of what the hands device was designed for, but since the Simpson accident at Le Mans, this net has become more mandatory for FIA races, and it's something that they're trying to pull into British touring cars at the moment. It's interesting seeing it here in WTC, because with the amount the drivers have to work and move around, and the manual gear changes, it makes it quite restrictive in there.
Thiago Monteiro fastest at the moment in the Honda. And the Lada's
going to jump under braking there. The Yas cars not using any of the normal damping systems. They prefer to go their own route, so not the classic Penske, Olin, Bilstein route that a lot of the others are using.
Lada's were hoping to go well here with very little ballast. Citroen's running on maximum weight, and Honda, after a successful weekend in Japan, a little bit laden up as well. At the moment, Thiago Monteiro, Mehdi Benani, Hugo Vallant, Norman Michelis 4th, Tom Coronel 5th position, ahead of teammate Tom Chilton. And Stefano D'Aste, who was last in testing this morning, said he was just taking it easy, learning the circuit, and not using any fresh tyres, using some very worn tyres. He said, I'm not really fast, I'm sure we'll go quicker, and sure enough he has, 8th quickest. Ivan Muller in 9th, John Philippi in 10th. But Huff and Lapierre down at the bottom of the pile. Tin Sritre is currently in 12th place. Just being shuffled down as time starts to come through. One of the things drivers will have to deal with here is the heat and humidity. It's very warm out. All the garages have got large fans in to try and cool them down. Commentary box has got a nice big air conditioning unit, so that's all well and good. But sealed up like a drum inside the still air of these cars, the drivers will be sweating like little piggies. So anybody who's got a helmet with an air tube in will be desperate to make sure that that works properly. Matt, even on the coldest days, you get very hot working inside a car. I mean, you are sealed up inside, the air doesn't move, there's no airflow around you generally, so you know, when you get into these conditions, you really start to suffer a bit, I think, with the temperature.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what temperature, whether it's cold or hot, the airflow over and under and around these cars is absolutely critical, and cabin pressure, keeping it nice and low. So these poor guys, they can't have any ventilation into there at all. This is why some of them run the cool suits or cool helmets, which you see the pipes. I think Lopez and Muller have got them on the back of theirs, but some of the other less fortunate guys haven't got them. So yeah, they just got to grin and bear it. I mean, the fortunate thing, we've only got sprint races here, so they've got half an hour to do through it. So they'll just make sure they're hydrated well, and a lot of them will have hydration packs in the cars as well, just to make sure they're on the double through it.
Well, here's our local boy in the colours of Singer Beer, one of the big beer brewers here, and in fact the circuit here at Buriram is officially the Chang International Circuit. Chang Beer, which is another of the brands brewed by Singer. So Tin Srirat.
Say that when you're
yeah. When you've had exactly, I don't need any. So currently it's still in 9th place. No, an improvement for Nicky Katzberg in the Lada puts him up into 7th, and Srirat down to 10th spot. Now, most of the drivers and the crew are recently arrived here, but our pit reporter Alex has been out in the Far East since the last set of races, existing on mud, as far as I can gather it. Clay shakes. Yum.
Was that a maker for...
No. That's sort of milkshakes made of mud, basically. Very cleansing, it would appear. And if you're supposed to eat a pound of dirt in your life, I think she's got enough inside her now, probably, for everybody in the paddock. So she's fully embedded here. She's gone troppo, as they'd say in Queensland. But everybody else, time zone difference, 7 hours away from Greenwich Mean Time, so 8 hours away, or 6 hours away rather, from European time for most of these drivers. But you know, it's the time change plus the heat plus everything else just kind of makes you feel a bit groggy. And if Pachito can't shake off that tinnitus, then he's going to feel really quite rotten.
What was that you were saying?
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
All those old gags.
Now, I'll tell you one interesting thing, Martin, is it's now 2:30 in the afternoon here in Thailand, and yeah, the times these guys, I mean, okay, it's only the first run out so far, but Lopez top of the pile in a 1 minute 40.5 seconds, and that's quite a bit slower than this morning. You know, it's a good over 2 seconds slower than they were in first test, and it's obviously as the ambience risen, it's harder on the tyres, and the engines can't breathe so well. So it's going to, you know, I think the track and the circuit is going to change through the day, and as will the attitude of the car, which will be interesting as we go into a twilight race tomorrow.
And that's an interesting little wrinkle as well, because we're not under floodlights as they are in Qatar, so it won't be a nighttime race, but it, as you say, it will be into the evening. So that could be quite interesting. It's not going to go dark. The phrase is dusk, and I think probably that will apply well, unless suddenly they get a whole host of English clouds over and it becomes a lot darker than it should do. It should be fine.
We'll certainly see who's got the best headlights anyway.
Well, I'm hoping it's not going to be that dark.
What is it? I mean, it goes dark very quickly. There's less of a dusk than in the northern hemisphere. So,
well, the closer you get to the equator,
loaded gun,
yeah, closer you get to the equator, the shorter the day, or the more even the day and the night are. So, and that means the sun goes up and down a lot faster, because you see more of it or less of it. So yeah, so in the tropics and the sub-equatorial regions, night does fall, it plummets, whereas in Northern Europe, as we're used to, it sort of gradually eases from daylight over a couple of hours into darkness. Here, it doesn't even take a couple of beers. You're halfway down your gin and tonic and, oh, hello, suddenly it's night time.
Yeah, Quinn Palmar looking for his first fast flying lap here. He's languishing down in 18th at the moment, so he's, here we go, let's see what time he can flick up here.
Starting to see the first of our disallowed times.
Into the last corner with interesting, a big tyre stack on the apex of there as well.
Nico Lapierre just lost his 4th lap for exceeding track limits.
I don't see how they're going to be able to keep an eye on this. There's so many points on the circuit where the drivers can take liberties.
Yeah, see, even there in turn 1, Ma had all 4 wheels inside the white line. And because it's a nice flat curb and a nice flat concrete runoff area, it worked for him. But, you know, that's another one where you look at the video and say, well, maybe his tyres were slightly just about on top of the white line, and so he didn't actually have all 4 wheels inside.
Unfortunately, when you get them in a pack as well,
well, once you get to
hammering moles.
Yeah, once you get to racing, that's going to be different, I think, because either somebody deliberately takes advantage, in which case you penalise them, or they don't, and that's a little bit easier to spot. So Ma's fast lap he's just set, disallowed for exceeding track limits, so I don't know whether that was the one that we just saw him finishing.
Which is okay. It's not too bad to keep an eye on 1 or 2 cars when they're out there. It's when you've got a qualifying situation, everybody's going to go for it. You've got a race situation, everybody's in a big long crocodile, and all the observer, if they're seeing, or the clerk of the course, the stewards are seeing, is the lead couple of cars, so they can't see everyone back in the pack. So
Well, that lap's not going to count, is it?
Well, yeah.
You would think not.
Now, do they just not? I'm not too sure what's happening this weekend. Whether they're going to just discount the laps, because in theory, once you've done it 3 times, you should be in for a black flag and a chat with the clerk. So,
yeah. Well, that the corner we just picked Ivan up was the first turn, and he drifted out wide. And if you drift out too wide, you cross the white line into the pit exit road, which is on the driver's left. And this is down at the hairpin at turn 3. There is a sort of kink on the straight, which is nominally turn 2.
Yeah, you are going to run one. I mean, they will play with the 4-wheel steer here, so which is they're not allowed electronic. It's got to be bump orientated. So as the wheel goes into bump as the car rolls, it will steer to allow you to carry more mid-corner speed, be kinder on the tyre. So the technical infield section of this circuit, nature of this circuit, you do want more rear brake, more rear steer, but then we've got the faster section, and that's exactly what you don't want. So it's going to be interesting to see the strategy of who goes for what, because I think you are going to want as much as you can possibly live with, because this infield section is going to be incredibly hard on the front tyres, especially with the heat we've got here.
You're not going to gain very much on anybody else, but you're going to lose a lot in terms of traction. Well, that lap of Ivan Muller's, he certainly cut corner 8. He had all 4 wheels inside. If you get it wrong in the final corner, you end up shooting accidentally into the pit road. That's a very PlayStation thing, isn't it?
PlayStation thing is just to drive over the top of everybody in the grass, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was the old Toka game. You don't want to hit any of those big tyre stacks. They're quite dangerous.
No, you really don't, do you? Well, you know, and that is a way that is, you know, sort of accepted practice now for keeping drivers on the grey stuff.
It's not though, Martin. Rector cells.
Inside, all 4 wheels there again. That's turn 8.
If they think they're taking the mickey now, wait till qualifying. It is going to be
that was turn 7 into turn 8. Turn 7 is a quicker turn. And this is turn 10 here. Dropping down a little and then climbing a fraction through turn 11.
I think they're all being quite well behaved so far, to be fair.
However, everybody we've watched has, without exception, gone off track. And they're all thinking, yeah, I mustn't run wide here, mustn't run wide here, but you can get penalised just as easily for cutting the inside of a corner. And certainly turn 7 appears to be one that they're very keen on cutting.
Banani goes top of the pile, and it'd be interesting to see whether he keeps that time
that
after his...
We've had 2 laps disallowed, one for Nico Lapierre, and the other one was Cinquan Ma's time.
If they start enforcing this through qualifying, I can imagine there's going to be a lot of upset drivers after qualifying, because there's going to be, well, he did it and he didn't get pinged for it, and I did, and all the rest of it.
And this is where the stewards will have to go through all the video and then actually make sure they watch all the video for all the drivers. There you can see one of the larders coming back out of the pit lane. Now, in theory, you're not allowed to cross the black flag, black and white flag for car number 26 for track limits. Oh, there's a black flag there for a moment. That's Stefano D'Aste. And you're looking at Jose Maria Lopez, and now at Gregoire de Moustier. Lopez second quickest to Banani at the moment. So you crest this little rise, turn 2.
Ooh, bit of a
didn't think it was that severe a corner, to be honest. That
it's
you have
a quick
to go
corner,
all the way off.
Martin. That's going to feel a big moment inside the cockpit.
I bet it is. Not hanging around there at all.
Snagging a rear brake on the way in.
Banani still fastest, finding plenty of speed this morning. Nico Lapierre in the larder. You see the helmet strip there. KCMG, they are racing in Shanghai this weekend in the World Endurance Championship. So Nico not with them in this weekend. And the common link between KCMG's sports prototype and Lada's World Touring Car Championship is Orica, and that's the common link that brings Nico Lapierre into play for all these things. Where was he? I spotted him doing something last weekend, can't remember what it was, but proper gun for hire being dropped into things by Orica all over the place at the moment. Van Muller back in the pit lane as well. Noticed a little flag sticking up on the blower that's hooked onto the front of the car. That's so the driver knows that it's still hooked onto the front of the car, and he ought to ask somebody to remove it before he leaves the pit lane. After one of the Citroens disappeared off on track in Villarreal with the blower still attached. Well, here's the run down the back straight into turn 3. Yeah, that's a bravery corner there. That's a little brief lift to get the nose settled and then keep it planted as you turn into turn 4 rather. It's a very quick corner.
Yes, if you can hang on through there in race trim, you've got a big braking area into 5 and 6 where it doubles back, so it could be could give us some good action in the races tomorrow. Bit of smoke there. Is that from Norby's car?
That's off Norby, yeah.
Could be just overfill on the oil or cruising around on his outlap.
Huffy's on the quick one. A number of the drivers played soccer yesterday with the local football team, and Huffy, he reckoned, celebrating his first goal in about 15 years. I thought, you know, when you see guys going out like that, I know how fit they are and how much they train and everything, but you do think, well, especially given who I'm sitting next to, look out for your fingers and your bones, and don't go twanging a hamstring and all of that stuff.
Yeah, and he was, because he played in, not this year, but because unfortunately it conflicted, but at Goodwood Revival he was in Lord March's cricket team, and he was the slugger. He was, I think he knocked a 6 right over the big 400-year-old cedar tree. Yeah, locals showing them the way on track limits as well.
Running out wide. And again, that final corner, I mean, you come up to that very quickly. The straight up to there isn't that long, but it is, what's that, about 110, 120 degree right-hander, so it's getting on for being a proper hairpin.
Yeah, the local Tim Chatre showing the visitors
how not to do it.
I think he cut the corners on every corner, cut the track on every corner, that one.
Well, presumably
Norby's still smoking. That doesn't look good, that doesn't.
He's got something rubbing underneath. He's only got another 8 minutes or less to survive, so go out and get some speed.
Looks as though, yeah.
Well, that's a lock-up, isn't it? So, but again, like Thiago Monteiro that we saw earlier, very hoppy and bouncy there.
Is it a lock-up or was it overrun on the engine?
Oh, I hope not. Have they got any Honda engine tokens left? Or have Fernando Alonso and McLaren used them? I think Alonso has bet the house, hasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, but they only need one bit of it, these guys, don't they? So.
Yes, exactly right.
No, I think that was definitely a lock-up.
Yeah, that definitely. Well, they were both locked up there, weren't they?
And Norby's smoking under power, mate, so that is engine. It's not fueling.
Citroen's not getting away from him, and it's not down the straight, actually. Norby's well hooked up. You can see the windscreen bowing there.
Which is a bad sign, Martin. You see that windscreen, it means the cabin's not sealed and you can lose pressure and therefore overall grip.
Well, the other thing is he's not in laminar airflow, so it'll be high pressure, low pressure, high, low, high, low, high, low in the turbulence behind.
It's also very disorientating for the driver. It, you know, it goes from convex to concave on the wind, and it's all done on wind speed as well. So you'll be going with a concave screen down the straight. Suddenly you hit the brakes and it goes convex.
Yeah, it's like putting your reading glasses back on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is all right if your reading glasses come on when you're trying to find your braking point, but bad if it all suddenly goes blurry.
But he's not trying to read a novel in there.
No, don't think so. So he's back in the pits.
Well, he was fastest this morning, wasn't he? He's fourth at the moment, but they're still good 2 seconds off where they were earlier on.
Yeah. Well, the sun's been out a long while, so not sure we're going to see the sort of times again that we saw in testing, because be qualifying later on and racing certainly later on. The track's going to be good and hot, and that means good and slippery as well, Matt, because it's relatively new, because it's fine-grained, because I don't imagine that they have the same sort of weather conditions that you get in Northern Europe, somewhere like, I don't know, a Silverstone or a Nürburgring. It'll stay dirty and slippery longer.
Well, it'd be interesting to see the drivers' reactions now, because they were all loving the circuit this morning, and now their cars are all 2 seconds a lap slower. They're all going to come in moaning like buggery. Yeah. That oh, it's not right. It's not, you know.
It's that classic thing after morning warm-up we always used to get, didn't we? Oh, the car's fantastic, don't change it. No, 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 no. It's fantastic now. That's no use. We're not racing at 9 in the morning. We're racing at 2 in the afternoon. Yeah. Was it hopeless yesterday? Yes. Well, change it then. It's going to get worse.
There's going to be plenty of whinging and wiring, but you're first. Yeah, but the car's no good.
Yeah, I know. Well, Bernani fastest at the moment from Lopez and Loeb. Not much in terms of movement there. Tom Coronel 12th. Where's Tom Chilton in 15th place?
Hugo Volant, quickest Chevy at the moment, in 7th place. The other guys are struggling a wee bit at the moment, whether it be Bamboo, Campos or Raul cars.
Yeah, whether they haven't put any new tyres on. I imagine that Tom Coronel probably hasn't yet. Tom Chilton down in 15th, battling Norbert Mikulits for the Yokohama Independence Trophy. Norby in 4th, Tom in 15th. So Chilton in the pits at the moment. Can't imagine you'd be coming back out with 3.5 minutes left to go. So that is his session completed. We do have a second free practice session as well, in which to try and dial the car in a little bit more. And they'll go and sit down with Tom Coronel's engineer and compare notes and try and figure out what it is that the two drivers and the two cars are telling them about the track. And not only where is it now, but also where is it going next. And that's one of the things when you've got no information about a circuit, Matt, is you are just kind of going on intuition and a little bit of hit it and hope is in, you know, which direction the track conditions are going to go.
Yeah, there's going to be drivers working on different things at the moment. They're going to be doing a bit of housekeeping, you know, scrubbing the tyres, you know, looking for race setups, some looking for qualifying setups. Qualifying is obviously ultra important in WTC, because it's whether you make that Q2 and
oh, Nico Lapierre in the barriers, not that firmly, but a long way through the gravel. And that's effectively going to render the end of the session redundant for anybody, because there'll be yellow flags out, so there'll be no improvement in the second sector.
Nice under tray full of gravel for the Lada boys to be busy cleaning out as well.
No,
he was struggling before then. He was down in 14th place. So
was he just going out? No, but he hasn't done many laps. It was only his 6th lap.
Yeah, just back. I mean, a lot of this session, I mean,
red flag.
They're going to be looking for race setups, qualified setups, but also drivers learning the circuit, learning what they can get away with corner cutting, you know, and just trying to get the maximum
obviously haven't bothered telling Lopez that the red flag is out.
They probably told him on the radio, Martin, but he hasn't heard them.
What, eh?
Sorry, that's going to go on all weekend, isn't it?
It's going to be a long weekend, isn't it? Neal Cole will be squirming in his seat. Oh no, not more deaf jokes. Well, there he did lift off. Session won't be resumed, as you might imagine, with 2 minutes left. There's that would be an utter redundancy. So there weren't an awful lot of quick laps going in. Nobody actually had a quick sector time going at the time there.
Well, the lap before, Lopez shaved half a second off his time, so, but he's still.
But on that lap, he wasn't.
Off.
Even when he was pressing on, he still hadn't gone green, so he hadn't improved. But he is fastest from fellow Citroën drivers Mehdi Benani and Sebastian Loeb. Norbert Michelis, Gabriele Tarquini, 4th and 5th for Honda. Nicky Katzberg, the best Lada, in 6th. Thiago Monteiro in 7th place in his Honda, ahead of Hugo Vallant, the best Chevrolet, in 8th. And then Cinquan Ma in 9th, and Rob Huff rounding out the top 10. Tin Switral, our Thai driver, in 18th place, behind John Philippi. And not far behind John Philippi either, actually. 42.35, best lap for Philippi, 42.50 for Switral. And as the engines head back to paddock, you can hear lots of bird song around this circuit, and very nice too. So, with a couple of minutes left, usually Alex and Ben are busy thinking about who they're going to line up for a chat. Now they're running around desperately trying to find somebody to line up for a chat, and that was a big, long brake failure induced off for Nico Lapierre. That was a long, long trail of tyre smoke. So either a suspension arm, and right front corner might be the culprit, broke, and he effectively had one wheel braking on the one that was still attached properly to the car, or one of the brakes, one of the calipers didn't work, and he again
the wheel does look very forward
had,
in the arch, doesn't it?
It does look a long way forward in the arch. I don't think the bodywork was moved that much further back, but that
just
was
in our camera view, we got the side shot of Huffy's car here.
Yeah.
And that is quite central in the front arch there. So
Ben, get out the way. Can't see. Thank you. Can't see the wheel. Yeah, so that had all the hallmarks, I'm afraid, of a little suspension collops. And once, if it is the right front wheel, once that's gone, you're going to get effectively no braking for that. So where you are braking desperately late and expecting two wheels to slow you down, one is just going to lock up immediately, the only one that's, you know, still properly attached to the car, and you're just going to go straight off, and that's exactly what's happened. I think that's down at turn 3 at the hairpin.
That it went straight and didn't fire him off at 90 degrees into the Armco or something.
If the camera pulls back, you can see how far off he's gone in the gravel trap.
Yeah, he's
got how far off he's gone on the run-off. And keep going, keep going, keep going. There's the hairpin. That's a long, and the smoke was a long way back there. So either he got it on the curbs and just got himself completely squirrely, or there was a failure in the right front, and the way the wheel sits, I don't think that looked like it was gravel trap damage. It may have been. Anyway, there's the times after the first free practice. Lopez by 0.3 from Benani, and then half a second back, Loeb, Michelis, Tarquini and Katzberg 8/9 back, and Ivar Muller 1.56 off the pace. Sebastian Loeb 0.56 off the pace. So Muller at the moment a second off Loeb, and they are battling for the runner-up spot in the championship, you've got to think. Tin Sritrai in 15th place. He rounds out our runner. 18th place, he rounds out our runners.
All the way through, a fantastic start here for you, Pachito. Although the red flag, what's it like out there for you?
I was hot and quite warm, different condition from this morning. The session went quite well for us, so we tried to understand the circuit, the car. It's not an easy track, you know, the limits are really, really close. I mean, sometimes it's very close to go too much and maybe not going. So, yeah, we're trying to understand as quickly as we can. The team has done a fantastic job again. I have a very good car as always, so yeah, looking very well. It's still a long way to go. I know this is just the beginning.
Of course, but how are you feeling ahead of your looming championship?
I just try to be focused. It's the only way I can keep away a little bit the anxiety, the nervous. I feel of course different, but when I feel like this, it's like I try to work a bit more just to try to keep out my mind and don't think about the championship.
Do you feel more or less nervous than you did this time last year?
No, the same. Same. Always, it's the work of all year that you need to try to close it. And I know how it's racing. Sometimes maybe it could be wrong. I can easily maybe have a problem and maybe don't score points, and it not necessarily has to go well every race like it's been for me. So I always prepare for the worst. I will try to keep working and see what happens. The important that the speed is there, and we're working correctly, and the car is still very competitive. So it's very good. I think the track is very demanding for the driver, the heat. There is a lot of things as well that we're going to be suffering a bit more than before.
Hope the weekend will continue as it has been. Well done.
Thanks, Al. And thanks to Jose Maria Lopez, fastest man so far. I wonder whether actually going off into the gravel trap at speed did just do the damage to that right front wheel of Nico Lapierre's car, whatever. I'm sure we will find out, the team will find out once he gets back, but his trip off into the gravel doesn't seem to have done an awful lot of damage to the front of the car. Hopefully that will be the case. And he will be ready to resume when our second free practice session starts, and that will be in just under 90 minutes. Long, yeah, that's a long smoky trail and a long way back. That started. Yeah, basically it looks like from where the smoke is, as soon as he hit the brakes, sort of somewhere between 100 and a 50 metre board, basically long lock-up and just one of those where you keep your hands on the wheel until the last moment and then pull them off everything. It did go straight through and straight in and straight off. There you are, you now know the tie for 2-6 heave. Not quite sure I can repeat it, but that's what that was. So there are your results from first free practice. And the second free practice comes up at 4:30 local, which is 9:30 GMT, I think. If only I'd written that down on a piece of paper, wouldn't that have been very useful? Those are the free practice results then. Curtailed by 2 minutes, but not too many vital laps, I think, being missed. Half the field was already in the pit lane, and the other half weren't on a real quick one. Won't be able to add the time to the second session, but that will see us through first free practice. Join us then for free practice 2. Again, Alex and Ben down in the pit lane, me and Matt in the cool of the commentary box. And we'll be back at 9:30 Greenwich Mean Time, which will be 5:30 here in Thailand. Until then, it's goodbye for now.